This clip was supposed to initially be part of the weekly report, but it got so long that I decided I was going to upload it as its own video. So if you enjoy, make sure you click the like button and subscribe, and stay tuned for the weekly report that will soon be coming out as well. And one of the things that's in our peripheral is ChatGPT. This program is absolutely mind-boggling. It's actually the reason why this video is coming out late. I spent way too much time playing around with this AI. If you're unfamiliar with what this is, it's an AI that is literally the best AI that's come out to date. It came out on November 30th of this year. Within 5 days, had over 1 million users. It's so impressive that interrogators have actually had difficulty telling that it wasn't a human and actually an AI. It can write complex essays that have no copyright in them whatsoever, because it will scan to make sure that what it's writing is actually unique but still on topic. It can do complex coding. It can solve complex mathematical problems. This is extremely impressive. And one of the things that we have to consider, well, I guess the first we should address what's going on in this article down below, which is that teachers are completely confuzzled by this. And I think it's ridiculous. Articles like this kind of make me laugh because it reminds me of some of the professors I had in college, where I'm like, hello, person who's supposed to be teaching me and helping me for the real world. This memorization is all nonsense. Everyone has Google. Everyone has a computer in their pocket that they can whip out and look up this nonsense. It doesn't need to be memorized. The critical thinking is what we should focus on. That is what's actually practical. That's what's actually helped me in the real world. That's when we learn about the business side of this. I mean, of course, I was in biochemistry, biotechnology, and that's actually how I got into finance. Was I wanted to learn about the business side of how does this research get done, or what is this company working on next, what are the applications for this, and that's what led me to research these companies, find them on the stock market, and then trying a way to use what I had learned in school to actually make money, because I was getting so frustrated that people who worked in labs made nothing. And that all comes down to the fact that I felt like a lot of college, especially today, is completely entirely useless. So when I see teachers say that they're afraid that kids will cheat, it just further really slams this home for me, is how much the education system actually just fails people today and how much changing it really needs to be done. Because if you think that these kids using this to cheat on memorization or cheat on papers is a major issue, you aren't teaching things that actually help for the real world. But the other thing to think about with programs like these is how it will change markets, just kind of predicting what things will be like. But if we just think about in the way of trading or investing, I think it would be very easy in the future to see a program very much like this, where you plug in your idea for a trade and it does all the risk management and setup for you. Options trade involving NVIDIA on the news that Russia will unban Bitcoin mining, something like that. You type it in, the algorithm sets up the risk management for you, gives you the best entries, looks at the OI for you, follows the volume, and gives you a target price based off some technical analysis, something of that scenario. And all you really have to do is have the critical thinking of the idea. Now, this will really fast track a lot of people and really separate who the great traders are from the good traders. Because right now, as already is for trading, risk management isn't something that you really need to worry about. And oftentimes I tell people, like, you'll learn risk management with experience. If you keep doing this, you'll develop those skills. That is something that can actually be taught. Setting up a trade, that can be taught. The risk management, that can be taught. What is an option? Basic things like this. These are all simple things that can be taught, that are repeatable, that an AI could very easily do. The actual knowledge to be able to say this is a good idea, that is way more nuanced, and no AI is going to be able to do that right now. Now, it could maybe pull from a bunch of forums a bunch of different ideas, but the issue there is that if it is the most common idea, usually it sucks. And so usually it's just going to pull up what the hive mind thinks. Usually the hive mind's getting burned and losing a ton of money, so you probably don't want to actually follow that. But it does kind of change the game. And when you use a program like this, like I've been using this program over the past 2 days, I've been playing around with it about 2 to 2-3 hours a day just to try to get well acquainted for it, try to figure out where the limits are on this, and it's extremely impressive to me. So I think within the next year or two, you could see this really take over a lot of industries. That includes coding or programming. I think a lot of the simpler tasks will get wiped out. Those people are going to learn new skill sets and actually go to the critical thinking level of their role. If what you need to do on a daily basis can be Googled and someone can show you, you're probably going to be out of a job. And to be honest, this is why I quit building some of the more basic parts of the Discord when it comes to the education. Of course, we still have a lot of education that's easily accessible, and it sits there so that when someone asks me a question that I've been asked dozens and dozens of times, I can simply send them a quick link for them to read about it, so I don't have to continuously repeat myself. But in the future, that's not going to be a thing at all, because you'll be able to just ask an AI those same questions that you want to ask me. And so long as it isn't something nuanced, like where do you see natural energy market going within the next 6 months? And it's something like, how do I set up this option play for this idea? And AI is going to be able to do that. Now, for me, this is wonderful, because the little nitty gritty things that I have to go over and over, that drives me nuts. I hate doing it. But when it comes to the big ideas, when it comes to talk about social dynamics or the changing of a society or what's going on in culture or what's going on with the big macro environment or this currency or what these geopolitical tensions mean for, 7-10 years in the future, I love conversation like that. The big ideas, all over it, could talk about it for days. The little stuff, I hate it. If I could just go ahead and offload that all to some AI to handle all that stuff and I just handle the big plans, even when it comes to coding new stuff in the Discord, hey, create a code that tracks everything Nancy Pelosi does and post it in XChat. That is wonderful. More of those things that I can outsource, the more things I can do, my productivity is going to go through the roof. And the same thing will happen for so many other people as well. And that's a big thing to consider when it comes to actual market movements. If everyone suddenly has an AI pocket that they can say, oh, I think this is a trade idea, trade this, and tell it to do it, and it sets up a trade. All they have to do is come up with a conceptualization of it. This could mean that rallies become way overextended than we're used to. Sell-offs could be way overextended than we're used to. Active fund management could become even more popular, and this could actually increase market efficiency, which will then make active trading even harder. Unless you're a day trader and momentum chaser and you're wanting to chase all these exaggerated moves and just scalp it. This will be really interesting to see how this plays out in the future. And when it comes to the actual economy, this is going to be huge, and it's going to be ridiculous to try and predict what this looks like. But right now, my best idea is that companies like Google are going to be in loads of trouble. The amount of efficiency one person can have, even if they don't have a lot of technical proficiencies, simply with the assistance of an AI, can suddenly get tons of things done, especially when it comes to software or coding or learning about maybe manufacturing. Suddenly an AI can handle all those nitty-gritty details, and all you have to do is come up with a good idea, and then it will do the execution for you, or at least walk you through the steps of how it's done. And if you think about it, that could easily be the bridge that crypto is looking for. A lot of what holds crypto back is the complexity of the space and all the coding that needs to be done on the smart contracts, making all of this work, making these transactions smaller and smaller and smaller so they have less fees and they're actually more practical to use. If an AI comes through and cleans all of that up and makes it as efficient as possible, or comes up with the best coding or the best currency, one that's so good that humans weren't capable of making it, one that's so much better than fiat that it makes fiat look outdated and ridiculous. Is that really like far out sci-fi at this point? Not really. And how long will it take to actually come around? Well, that's the thing. This stuff is exponential when it improves. And look, I don't think anyone has a solid grasp on what the world will look like 5 to 10 years from now. You're going to need to be hyper focused on this every single year to figure out how the changes are going to continue to develop. But I think the way that it's going to restructure how society functions as a whole is going to be absolutely revolutionary and so significant that I think it's going to be even hard to anticipate what the future even holds or even looks like. And look, the huge thing I want to drive home and what I want to end this video on is the domino effect that occurs when any of these changes are made. Because I think a lot of people have a solid grasp on what's the next leap forward for biotech? What's the next leap forward for fusion energy, for cryptocurrencies. I think we all have a solid idea of what that looks like. Same with AI and what we're seeing happening right now. But what I don't see a lot of people having even the ability to hypothesize is the domino effect that occurs when any of these changes are made. Such as if you make that next leap in fusion energy and energy costs zero, what happens then? Does poverty pretty much completely disappear after that? The manufacturing suddenly becomes incredibly easy. Suddenly there's this huge weight lifted off of society. Energy underlies everything, so it makes literally everything cheaper. Wealth increases exponentially. Okay, so now that's all done. So the hardware is easier to make. So now that the hardware is now easier and cheaper to make, we'll probably make better AI. So now that we're making better AI, we're probably going to need less jobs. We're going to have our efficiency ramp up considerably. If our efficiency is ramping up considerably, suddenly probably crypto is going to be the best because the AIs are going to make the best crypto. So we're not going to have a fiat currency. So we're going to have a currency that's likely going to be global and going to be more efficient. Since money moves the world and money is going to be moving really quickly, does the whole world start moving more quickly in every single aspect? And what does it even look like when that all unravels? What is the stopping point after we become better at getting better at an exponential rate altogether? You know, do we start talking about becoming a Star Trek civilization in the next 100 years? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. And I think some of it sounds like sci-fi, but every day it sounds less and less like sci-fi. And I'm talking to you, people who love gold, because we could go to space and get endless gold. Who cares about gold? Well, I still think it's a cool short-term trade idea, but why are you thinking gold is going to be useful in 50 years? That's stupid. It's stupid. Anyways, that's the end of the video.